only sort of 8% of NEETs will consider working in the environment. 68% of logistics companies struggle to recruit under 30s, despite paying sort of between 10 and 15% more than the retail and hospitality trade. And they say people work for businesses, but often they leave due to poor management. The people can have the skills, but they can learn skills.
I think it'll be worse.
I think if employers don't adopt and do the things that we've been talking about, I think it's going to be worse.
We all know there's some massive preconceived ideas of how warehousing and logistics operates. Today, I've just recorded a podcast with Kevin from TRS Training where we put some of those myths to bed and we look at how apprenticeships and other skills can really support the warehousing, logistics and industry. So let's get into the podcast. Kevin, welcome to ShedTalk. I was going to say welcome to Cheshire, but you live in Cheshire, so yep. You've not travelled very far this morning.
Thanks, Tony.
Before we get going, we're going to use the acronym NEET quite a bit today. Some people might not know what that means. So what is a NEET?
So a NEET is someone that's not in education, employment or training. Basically, that's what it means.
Is there an age group attached to that?
So the NEETs are between 16 and 24 years of age. Yeah.
Cool. As always, we normally start with a question from Claire Bottle, called the Bottle Opener question. So thank you, Claire. The government says there are 1 million NEETs, yet in logistics we employ nearly 3 million people, and we're still experiencing skills shortages across the sector. Why a mismatch? What do you think can be done about it?
I think one of the biggest issues, Tony, is the perception that youngsters have about the industry. I know there's been lots of sort of surveys and research done in schools and colleges, and when you ask a youngster if they would consider a job in warehousing, often the feedback's coming back that they wouldn't because they think it's low paid. Number one. Number two is they don't see any career progression. Number three is the environment. So they tend to think they're going to be working in a dull, miserable warehouse with no lighting. They're going to be expected to achieve sort of unrealistic targets. They might be working in a freezer, a chiller. That's not necessarily the case, but that's what they think. They're also concerned about shift patterns. So, shift patterns are, working nights. So all of those things are putting people off.
I think employers are finding it harder than they did 10 years ago.
Definitely, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. If you go back sort of like 10 years ago, companies would advertise vacancies and they'd have a number of applications applying for those jobs, but that's not the case anymore. I mean, stats that I've seen at the moment is only sort of 8% of NEETs will consider working in the environment. So you can imagine the amount of applications are down. Equally, 10 years ago, lots of the warehouses that I've worked with or supplied services employed Eastern Europeans. That pipeline's disappeared now. So yeah, it's definitely harder.
Where do you think the other 92% are going for a job?
I think that they're going into sort of engineering, construction, hospitality, retail. I think those are the sectors where a lot of the other 92,000 people are going. Yeah.
When I was doing some research for today, I'm in a WhatsApp group with the women in logistics, and there was several comments about visibility in schools. I think one of the members had been to school, and the teacher said, X is coming to see us. We're going to talk about warehousing and logistics. I don't know anything about it either. We'll all learn together. Do you think that's typical? Do you think there's a gap in schools with how we can get that message across?
Definitely. I think schools do a great job, but it's not talked about enough. So logistics, careers in logistics is not sort of talked about. Engineering, construction, the forces, all of those careers are talked about, but it's definitely not spoken about enough in schools and colleges, without a shadow of a doubt.
I know there's an organisation called Generation Logistics. I nearly called it Destination Logistics earlier. And I know we're going to have Bethany on a future podcast, all being well. Are you familiar much about the work they do?
Yeah, I am. I mean, Generation Logistics, I believe, set up in 2022. They work with sort of Logistics UK, CILT, and I think it's the DWP or DW Department of Work and Transport. And they do a great job. So they've been going into schools and colleges and talking about career opportunities within the warehousing logistics sector, and not just talking about forklift trucks, and they've gone beyond that. They're talking about sort of you can start as a warehouse operative in year one, and then maybe in year 2 or 3 you can progress and become a team leader, supervisor, manager, or even a director. So they are getting the word out there about the benefits of working in the industry.
I'm wondering if this is a good opportunity to segue into apprenticeships. I don't know a lot about apprenticeships. I think there's a level 1 up to a level 7.
So yeah, so it's.
Do you want to just go through what they are?
Yeah. So they start at level 2. So level 2 is the equivalent of a GCSE, and they can go right up to level 5 and beyond. But generally, most entry levels come in at entry level 2.
Okay.
They can do a warehouse apprenticeship, a warehouse operative apprenticeship. They could do customer service, or they could do, there's a new standard that's recently been introduced by the government, and that's an administration apprenticeship, and they're all level 2 entry. And then
What's involved in level 2? How long does that take?
So it takes anywhere between 8 and 12 months, depending on the course that they complete. So that's like GCSE, and then
Is that day release?
No, sorry, it's they're employed on a full-time basis.
Okay.
So if you're going to take on an apprentice, you have to take them on a full-time basis. It's literally, they would spend roughly 1 day a month in a classroom environment, and that can either be through a Teams meeting or face-to-face, learning the modules in that particular apprenticeship, and then they would then put those skills into practice on the shop floor under the supervision and guidance of a workplace mentor.
Right.
And the workplace mentors are generally team leaders, supervisors working for the employer.
Do they need training to
Yeah.
do this, or is it online support?
Are you referring to the team leaders?
The team leader, how
Yeah,
I'm assuming the content for the level 2 apprentice is online. That that's how the modules are communicated. But
yeah.
if it's going to be in the workplace all the time, the team leader must have some.
Yeah, often.
Or are they almost doing it together?
No, they're doing no. So if they're doing a warehouse level 2, often the team leaders, the supervisors that are mentoring or supporting the apprentice started off as a warehouse person, and then they've progressed and developed into becoming a team leader or a supervisor. So they understand that role really well. So yeah, they don't necessarily need any training to do that. Some companies do. Some companies invest and they'll put them on a mentoring course before they actually become a mentor. But it just depends on the company, really, and the ability of the person they want to appoint as a mentor.
And then there's a progression up to level 3.
Yeah, so you can go up to level 3, and often a lot of the companies that we work with are upskilling either warehouse people to become team leaders. So they will put them through what's called a transport warehouse operations supervisor apprenticeship, and that's the equivalent of an A-level qualification.
Okay.
Yeah. Level 3, and then you can go beyond that. There's level 4 apprenticeships. There was a level 5 operations manager apprenticeship, but unfortunately, the government decided to remove that from the curriculum, so that's no longer available.
But there is a level 6.
There is a level 6, and we don't do the level 6, but lots of colleges do. So one of the colleges that was involved in the UKWA event that we went to recently was Aston College, and they actually do deliver that particular apprenticeship.
I've got Richard coming on in a few weeks. We're going to
Brilliant.
talk about
He'll be
level
able
6.
to,
Yeah.
I mean, we as a business, TRS, we go up to as far as level 5.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we tend
So what
to.
ratio have you got on sort of level 2, level 3, level 5?
So we've got roughly around about 600-700 apprentices at the moment.
A good number.
Yeah, and I would say the majority of the learners are on the level 3s.
Right. Okay.
Doing the transport warehouse operations supervisor apprenticeship. That's our biggest course. And then we did have a number on the level 5s ops manager, and then we've got a number doing the LGV at level 2, and some are doing the warehouse level 2 as well.
Is there a certain sort of size of warehouse and logistics company that will sort of be heavily involved in level 3s, or can little businesses do it as well?
No, it's
bigger
available
ones?
to anyone, Tony. So we've got small and medium-sized businesses doing level 2, level 3, and equally we've got some of the larger levy payers doing the level 3 and the level 4 and the level 5.
Let's change it a little bit. Tell me about a young person you've worked with who's changed your opinion of young people today.
I can't give you an example of just one individual, but what I can say is we've enrolled hundreds of young apprentices on the level 2, and they've gone on to complete the level 3, either the team leader or the transport warehouse operations supervisor. And now they are sort of running shifts, involved in staff briefings, setting targets, managing performance. And before they joined the business, they just wouldn't imagine themselves sort of being able to do that. They had sort of like low confidence. But now, as I said,
how long might it take somebody coming in at level 2 to run in a shift?
So you
short as a couple of years, or
a couple of years, 2-3 years, depending on the individual. Yeah, but the people I'm talking about, they did the level 2 warehouse or level 2 traffic operator apprenticeship course in year 1, and then in year 2 they did the transport warehouse operations supervisor. So by the time they finished that course in year 3, they're actually taking on a supervisory role. So it can be done in that space of time.
And then where would they go from there? Because there's the UKWA CPC. Is that the next step? Is there something in between?
So with the level 3 transport warehouse operations supervisor apprenticeship, we are also delivering the UKWA CPC course, which is we fund that, so it's free of charge. It's not at this moment in time a mandatory part of that qualification. It is something that UKWA are trying to push through, but at this moment in time, it's not mandatory. But we see it as a valuable sort of add-on to the apprenticeship modules that we're delivering, which is why we're now offering it to employers as a free bolt-on.
Yeah.
And that qualification, commercially, if you were to pay for it, if an employer were to pay for that, it could cost up to sort of £1,600 per learner. So the fact that we are delivering it free of charge is a big advantage.
Where do you get that money from?
So we basically take it out of the profits that we make. Any profits that we make, we reinvest back into the business and back into the training and our offering to apprentices and employers.
Sure. Let's talk a bit about TRS then, because it's a business that you own. How did you get into training? Because you told me earlier you're a truck driver.
Yeah,
so how did you make that leap?
So back in 2011, I think it was 2011, there was a major shortage of forklift truck drivers, particularly in the Merseyside area where we were operating. I was operating as a recruitment company at that particular time. And Jaguar Land Rover launched the Evoque and needed hundreds of forklift truck drivers, but there was no forklift truck drivers with the experience in the Merseyside area. Yeah. So I decided to set up a forklift truck driver training school, and we used the same forklift trucks that Jaguar Land Rover or DHL were using, and we ran sector-based work academy programs. So we'd work in partnership with the job centre and DHL and Jaguar Land Rover, and anyone that when they passed the forklift truck training and completed the test, they then had an interview with, I think it was staff Staffline. Staffline was the agency at that
Right.
particular time. Yeah, but that's what got me into training, just on the back of the forklift truck shortage.
What's the biggest thing you've learnt in 20 years?
That you should, that the people can, may not have the skills, but they can learn skills.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to invest in the individual, if an employer is willing to invest, then that person can become skilled at whatever you want them to do.
So attitude more
Attitude,
important.
attitude's really important as opposed to experience.
Some people say that Gen Zers don't want to work. Is that fair?
No, I some of them, being honest with you, some of them probably don't want to work, but that's a small minority, I would say. I think the majority of Gen Zs are looking for jobs that meet their expectations. So they're looking to work in jobs where they've got flexibility. Work-life balance is really important to Gen Zs. The other thing is they want to see a clear career pathway. So they want to join companies who are willing to invest in them and give them the opportunity to develop their career. So yeah, I think it's a bit unfair saying that they all don't want to work, but I just think their expectations are different.
You've just touched on something that also came out of the prep work I did with Women in Logistics Group. Is it more a fundamental clash between the employment market's need for flexible working and working for home, clashing with fast-paced fulfillment and possibly even geopolitical pressure, war, climate change? So I think that question's sort of coming from a lot of people now want to work from home. They want flexible time, but fulfillment, logistics doesn't really allow for that. There's still a 6 a.m. Monday start, and that sort of feels like it's a clash with itself.
Yeah, I think the generation Z have been brought up on hearing about working from home, working sort of flexible shift patterns, but flexibility, it's not just all around flexibility. Like I said before, they like to work in sectors where AI technology is used, and their perception of warehousing isn't that. They think it's sort of there's not any high tech technology within that sector. So I think it's about matching what their needs are and changing their perception of our sector.
Before we move on, I've got a little manufacturing business in Lee. We've had over the last sort of 3 years 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and I can see no evidence that supports Gen Zers don't want to work. In fact, I think it's almost the opposite. I think there's some really great attitude coming out of schools and colleges, and kids really do want to get on.
Yeah,
I think that's the case.
Yeah.
You touched on AI there. Do you see AI taking jobs out of the warehouse logistics sector?
I think it'll remove some replace some jobs, Tony. Sort of, some of your basic admin jobs may be replaced with AI, but I don't think AI is going to replace people completely, because I think some of the skills,
move a box from one place to another, can it? So.
Exactly. So you're gonna need analysts, data analysts. You're going to need engineers, sort of maintaining the robotic equipment. So it might take out some of the roles, but not nowhere near all of them. There'll always be a demand for people.
Fear of AI making massive swathes of the population redundant feasible or not? Because I'm not sure I see that.
I don't, to be honest. There's that many different sectors. It's difficult to sort of say, really. I just think the more AI comes in, the more sort of robotics that come in, you're just going to need people with a different set of skills. You're still going to need people, because AI doesn't work without input, without people. I just think the whole skill set will change.
Peter McLeod, who's the editor of Logistics Business Magazine, he does a podcast as well, and he put an episode out this week about AI. And the guy he had on, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, he was sort of arguing that it's not revolution AI and warehousing logistics, it's evolution.
Yeah.
It's making what's already there a bit better.
Yeah.
Not absolutely going to come in and, drastically change the industry. I think there's probably some truth in that. What jobs do you think AI might create? So, for example, when the internet came along, everybody's got to have the internet. This massive internet industry sprung up.
Yeah.
Do you see the same with AI and
I
warehousing?
I do. I think, like I say, data analysts, engineering, the people with those sorts of skills are going to be needed more and more to make sure that the AI functions correctly, and it does what the business wants it to do. So there's going to be a whole set of different roles that come on the back of AI being introduced to logistics and warehousing.
Should we go back and talk a bit more about TRS then? What do you see people doing well over and over again from a training sort of point of view?
Yeah, so investing in their people. The companies that we work with, they've completed full sort of training needs analysis. So they've identified, what skills people are going to need to make sure that, they've got the skill sets to get the business to where it needs to be over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So it's, the companies, I believe, that are going to be successful and are doing the right things are the ones that are invested in training, basically. Yeah.
Do you think quite a large percentage of the industry is doing that?
A lot of the companies that we work with are now sort of moving into the realizing the benefits of training and the impact it can have on the business. There's still a lot of businesses that, unfortunately, put training on the back burner.
Yeah.
So when times are hard, the first thing that gets
kicked out.
Yeah, it does. But I think on the back of the people shortage, a lot of companies have start to realise the benefits that training can offer.
What trade organisations do you work with? Where does your work come from? You've got to find these 700 people from somewhere, and they're revolving through all the time, aren't they?
Yeah, so we've got a really good relationship with the Road Haulage Association. Yeah. We've worked with that organisation for many years now, and so we get a lot of referrals from the RHA. Likewise, we also are now working with UKWA, UKWA, again on the back of the TWO's apprenticeship for the warehouse route. We're promoting that to the members.
What's the TWO's apprenticeship? Sorry, I don't know.
So that's the Transport and Warehouse Operations Supervisor apprenticeship.
Is this the one that's going to be split into two?
It is, yeah. So it's there's a lot of confusion when we start talking to employers about the Transport Warehouse Operations Supervisor. They get confused because they're saying, well, I don't want to give this person skills in transport because they work in warehouse and vice versa. But there's two set routes at the moment. So Transport Warehouse Operations Supervisor, if you work in haulage, you do the transport side. If you work in warehousing, you're doing the warehousing side. But splitting it would be better. So they're looking to call it the Transport Manager Apprenticeship, or the warehouse manager apprenticeship, so it'll be less confusing.
That's going to be split up later this year.
It's being looked at as we speak. The Trailblazers have put forward the justification for why they would like it to be split. So the Trailblazers are a group of employers and training providers that create and develop apprenticeship standards for their particular sector.
Does that have to get approved by the government or Department?
Yeah, it has to be approved by. Yeah, it has to be
recognised.
Recognised. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's one to look forward to for the future. Most rewarding success story.
Most rewarding success story was probably when TRS set up, I would say. Right. It started off as a sort of a really small company. 4 or 5 people, and it's grown over the years since 2017, and we've got 65 people in the business.
That's a great employment story, isn't it? Just in its own right, you're employing 65 people.
Yeah, and we're working with 600-700 apprentices.
How many have you trained in total? If you've got 600 on the go at any one time?
Thousands.
Is it tens of thousands?
Yeah, it's thousands over the years. Yeah.
How much influence does a strong manager or leader have in the success of an apprentice or retention of a new starter?
Yeah, it's huge, to be honest with you. I mean, we talk to employers, and they want to put existing team leaders, supervisors through some of our leadership and management apprenticeships because they haven't had the correct training in the first place.
Right,
They've been promoted because they were the best pickers, or they were reliable, and they may have been buddied up with a team lead, a supervisor for a couple of months, and then left to run the shift. But they've had no formal training. So, they've had no recruitment training, how to induct properly, how to set targets, how to deal with conflict. And those things are key. If you don't get that right, then it all falls apart. And, they say people work for businesses, but often they leave due to poor management.
Yeah, they work for a person rather than
exactly.
A business.
And it's often they're leaving because they're not being treated properly, and that's generally because the managers haven't been given the right sort of training.
Do you ever go into a business then and go, hang on a minute, the team isn't appropriately trained, maybe we should look at some training with your guys first?
We do that. Yeah, we do that all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
That's
we do that all
the place you start from.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
One of the reasons I asked you to come on is I saw you at the Bowies UKWA.
Yeah.
And you had some statistics, and I know you've brought a load with you. So if you want to grab your notes and let's talk statistics for a minute, because I think people might be interested in what you've got written down.
Okay. So, I mean, do you want me to just...
Let's just chat about some statistics. Yeah.
So in terms of recruitment, excuse me, so 68% of logistics companies struggle to recruit under 30s, despite paying sort of between 10 and 15% more than the retail and hospitality trade. Yeah, so that's a fact.
Despite a good pay position,
they are still struggling to attract the younger generation.
Visibility again,
perception. I would say it's those things.
Transport. Could it even be getting to it's easier to get to a town centre than to get to an outside distribution park?
Definitely. I mean, I went to Hopwood Hall last week. It was an event organised by Daz, a guy called Darren Wright, and Matt. Darren set up Veterans in Logistics. Excuse me. And one of the initiatives he's looking at setting up is to provide car driving lessons and the test for the younger generation, because one of the biggest barriers is they can't get to work. Often warehousing, it's all shift work, 6 to 2 to 10 and nights, and there's no public transport. So this initiative is designed to fund their car driving lessons and tests, and then get them into a job using the apprenticeship route, the sector-based work academy or boot camp routes.
Is there some government money? I think there might be some government money there to help that. Is
there
a levy or something?
They're hoping that it's going to be they're going to be able to get funding through the adult skills budget. But at this moment in time, we are delivering apprenticeships to the younger generation. We work with the British Association of Removals, the BAR, and they have struggled to recruit porters, and so one of the things that we did with those guys, and we're also doing it with some warehouse employees as well, is the £1,000 government incentive for taking on a young person. So we use our £1,000 and the employer uses their £1,000, and we put that money together to fund the car driving lessons.
Right, okay.
So
there's a scenario here where you could attract somebody by saying, we will pay for you to learn to drive.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Exactly.
And then they could get a job on 10 or 15%
Well, we take them on as
More
an
money than
apprentice. We take them on as a warehouse apprentice, or we take them on as an admin, a customer service apprentice within a warehousing environment. And that £2,000 can be used to fund the car driving lessons.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's that.
So there's a really, really coherent route there.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Right, go on, give us another stat then, because that
So another
created a great bit of conversation.
so 71% of Gen Z believe warehouse environments lag way behind other industries in technology, in the adoption of technology. So that's one of the big things that they look for. It's they're looking to work in industries where technology is used, but they believe that in warehousing,
there's a massive hole there. Warehousing is all about robotics now, and it's not pallet in, pallet out anymore.
But they're not. Unfortunately, they don't see that.
They don't see it. So
and
we're back
it's
to
the visibility
again.
Yeah, that's the visibility issue. The other one is 62% of workers under 35 rank flexibility as very important. So they don't want to be working fixed shifts. 6-2-2. They want more flexibility.
What can the warehouse and logistics industry do about that?
So there's
harder?
No, it's. I mean, some companies are bringing in 4 on 4 off.
Right.
They're bringing in weekend shifts for students. They're bringing in term time shifts working for parents. So
they're having to be more flexible in order to get people,
to make it more appealing to a wider audience. Yeah,
right. So that is available then, yeah.
The other one is 82% of workers under 30 prioritise career advancement when searching for jobs, but only 14% believe that there is any career progression within warehousing. Goes back to what we were talking about earlier.
What are the various career progressions in warehousing?
You can go from being a warehouse person in year one right up to director level over a period of time, and we've got examples of workers that have not got to director level yet, but they have gone through the ranks and are now sort of supervisors, operations managers. So we have got examples of people that have done that.
And I'm guessing also people could branch out into technology. They could become a warehouse management system expert.
Of course,
software,
you can.
Engineering, maintenance.
Yeah. It's not just. I suppose it's the whole supply chain, isn't it, Tony? I mean, there's opportunities across the whole of supply chain, including, as you've said, engineering, apprentices. There's a whole variety.
You see a demand for education around sustainability at the moment. So people coming in with understanding how the future carbon free world's going to work.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the on a lot of the youngsters' sort of wish list when they're looking for a job. They're looking for employers who do take sustainability seriously. That can be one of their values. It is important.
Yeah, we did touch on that earlier. Younger people do want to go and work for a company that's a bit more responsible for the larger picture,
reducing the carbon footprint. Definitely, that's a prerequisite for some of these youngsters.
Any more stats?
Yeah, if you want me to keep going, you've got so 68% of under 25s associate warehouse workers physically demanding and an uncomfortable environment to work within. We touched on that at the beginning. So that's.
I spoke to 4 under 24-year-olds, and that came out. All 4 of them said, manual labour, etc. But you go to a materials handling exhibition.
Yeah,
there's kit everywhere to help move things, conveyors, grabbers.
Yeah,
all sorts of things that that the employer is responsible to make as easy as possible.
Yeah. And then the final one that I would sort of encourage employers to do is offer career progression in your adverts, because again, so employers offering career progression in their adverts, their recruitment adverts, are generating 38% more applications than those that don't. So the youngsters are, trawling through Indeed, LinkedIn, TikTok, all the advertising space, looking for employers that are going to offer career progression in some shape or form.
Back to questions then. If you became an operations director of a 300-strong warehouse and logistics business, what would be the first thing you would do to make a positive change to recruitment? Yeah, and you might have just answered the question.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would want to understand and identify is, are is the business able to attract the younger generation? So, look at the demographics, the age demographics. And, if you are attracting, there's not an issue. If you're not, I'd like to understand why they're not sort of attracting the under 30s. So I'd like to do that. Look at going through exit interviews, just to identify if there's an issue there. And if there is, then you need to put in a strategy to resolve that.
What questions aren't warehouse leaders asking themselves at the moment, and you think they should be?
I think, from a recruitment point of view, they need to be asking, why would someone want to work for one of our competitors instead of our company? So they need to understand why, if the competition are recruiting more people, they need to understand why that is the case.
So looking at what their competitors are doing that's good, and trying to match it or better it.
Definitely. And then sort of what can they do as a business to compete with the competition? Can they put in sort of career pathways, all the things that the youngsters are looking for? Can they put those things into the business?
I think this might be a very similar question, but I'll ask it anyway. If a warehouse manager asked you, I have only one thing I can do this year to help with recruitment, what might you tell them to do? I'd
introduce the academy principle.
Really?
Yeah, I would, because it's one of the it's one of the best ways to attract.
So let's go back through that in a little bit more details. Then, what's the academy principle?
So we're working with employers that have introduced. They've partnered with us as their training provider, and we work in partnership to attract people to the business. So we go into the marketplace and we promote all of the apprenticeship pathways that we deliver, right from level 2 up to level 4. It was level 5, but up to level 4. In addition, they've all completed training needs analysis of their existing workforce, and we've offered the career progression opportunity to existing staff as well. So we're saying, if you're a warehouse person and you'd like to be a team leader, a manager, this is the pathway. If you're a manager and you'd like to progress on to become a director, this is the pathway that you need to follow. So it's all about investing in training.
Where do you think this industry will be in 10 years' time? Do you think it'll still have the same challenges? Do you think it'll be better? Do you think it'll be worse?
I think if employers don't adopt and do the things that we've been talking about, I think it's going to be worse. I mean, robotics, AI, that's going to reduce the needs for certain jobs, but like we said before, it's not gonna replace all jobs. You're always going to need people.
It's interesting. I remember, and you may remember this as well, but do you remember when call centres started going out to India and there was a big uproar about, we're losing a lot of employment, it's going overseas? There was a think tank that did some research that said that for every £1 lost to the UK economy that went overseas for a call centre job being replaced, that person would be retrained, and that pound would be worth like £1.25 or £1.30.
Yeah.
Do you think that might be the same with, yes, we're going to lose some forklift truck drivers, but we'll retrain those people into better positions and we'll actually be wealthy because of it?
Yeah, I do think that will happen. I think, people will evolve into different roles as more AI and robotics come in. So reinvesting in those individuals to carry out different roles, I think that will be something that employers will have to do. So they're saying to employers now, there's a million NEETs if you can take them on as an apprentice. If you take an apprentice on between the age of 16 and 24, the government will give you £2,000. If that individual is between 16 and 18, you'll get another £1,000. So potentially there's a £3,000.
This is going to become a very political thing, is it? I know I don't like being political necessarily, but I think it's one of Andy Burnham's big targets. In fact, it would be any leader of any government. They've got a real problem with NEETs. And that will come in.
They've got to financially incentivise employers to take these people on, and like I say, the incentives that are being offered are worthwhile. Plus, in addition, with apprenticeships, anyone under 25 years of age, the employer stops paying employers' national insurance.
Sorry, say that again.
So if an employer takes on an apprentice under 25 years of age or upskills an existing employee, then they stop paying the employer's national insurance for the duration of the apprenticeship.
Really?
Yeah, so that's
a nice 9% bonus for the company.
It's a big saving, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, that's added value.
Any more stats on your list, young man?
No, if there is, I haven't, to be honest.
Do you see any companies that are absolutely smashing training out of the park?
Yeah, employers we work with sort of.
You can name drop if you like.
Yeah. So we work with Arla.
Yeah.
We work with Next, Cisco, Bidfood, John Lewis. All of those organisations are doing the things that we've talked about.
Smaller 3PLs as well,
and lots of smaller 3PLs. Yeah, well, like I say, we work with we've been working with about 150, 200 employers, made up of small, medium companies, but also the larger levy employers as well.
Cool. One of my final questions: what can other companies learn? What can we learn from companies doing this well?
I think if you look at the benefits that those companies are achieving by doing the things, by doing the academies, they're attracting people to the business, their retention is better, they're seeing better productivity levels because people are trained, they're motivated, they want to be in that working for that employer. So those are the sorts of things that anyone that's not doing it would gain and achieve.
If there was one thing you wanted somebody to take away from this podcast, what would it be?
I would want them to. I would want them to consider taking on the NEETs, and investing in them and developing them.
It looks like there's a real opportunity for the warehouse and logistics industry to really get behind NEETs and really look after itself into the future.
Yeah. But like we said at the beginning, instead of recruiting for experience, recruit for sort of attitude, because a lot of these youngsters, they're just looking for an opportunity. And if you're willing to invest, then you'll reap the rewards, definitely.
I think that just about shrink wraps it up, Kevin.
I think it does. And that's me all shred and done.
Shed and done.
Shed and done, yeah.
Thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.